It's the Parliament showdown. Who's responsible for one of the least productive Parliament sessions during the 2 terms of the NDA?
सरकार हमेशा पॉजिटिव रहना चाहिए, रिस्पांस देना चाहिए डेमोक्रेसी में। अगर आप डेमोक्रेसी को जिंदा रखना चाहते हैं तो अपोजिशन की बात भी सुननी चाहिए।
आखिरी दिन को भी कांग्रेस और उनके साथियों ने बहुत गलत तरीके से डिस्टर्ब किया, हाउस को चलने नहीं दिया, काले कपड़े पहन करके संसद का फिर से अपमान किया। ये बहुत देश के लिए दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण अवस्था है।
The budget session of Parliament officially ended today. The session was conducted in 2 phases and saw many disruptions over many issues. And for the first time in many sessions, the blame was squarely on both sides of the aisle. Today, several opposition parties skipped the courtesy meet called by the Speaker and staged a Tiranga Yatra from Parliament to Vijay Chowk instead. The opposition claimed that they were not allowed to speak and raise issues in Parliament. On the other hand, the BJP blamed the opposition for ruckus and alleged insult of the Parliament. The budget session 2023. The productivity in the Lok Sabha, ladies and gentlemen, is 33%. In the Rajya Sabha or the upper house, 24%. Hours functioned. The Lok Sabha functioned for a total of 45.9 hours. Rajya Sabha 32.3 hours. Time spent on legislation in the Lok Sabha was 0.5 hours. Just half an hour. On the Rajya Sabha, 0. Price of derailing Parliament sitting so far. Money lost 165.35 crore because 25 sittings so far were derailed. Parliament should have worked a total of 144 hours. The Parliament worked on an average 39.1 hours. That's what they worked. Hours lost 110.9 hours overall. Bills introduced 3. Bills pending 34. And this is as per the PRS site. Parliament productivity overall, if you were to see in the past, in budget session 2023, like I said, 33%, Rajya Sabha 24%. The winter session of Parliament in 2022, Lok Sabha functioned at 88%, Rajya Sabha at 94%. Monsoon session 47%, 42%. Budget session 2022, 123% and 90%. Compare this year's budget session compared to the last year's budget session. Winter of 2021, Lok Sabha was at 77% performance functioning efficiency, Rajya Sabha 43%. Monsoon session 2021, Lok Sabha 21%, Rajya Sabha 20%. That's the lowest. And the budget session 2021, 107% and 90%. This is all as per PRS. So, if the Parliament had to function, it can function, but productivity level is one of the all-time low. Sanju Verma and George Kurian. Sanju Verma, who is to blame? Responsibility of the Parliament functioning lies on the shoulders of the government. Yeah, the government fail over.
You know, Anand, let me be very clear that, on umpteen debates, it has been decided both by respected anchors like you, by co-panelists, including the likes of George Kurian, that democracy के दोनों पहिए वो तभी democracy आगे बढ़ सकती है, लोकतंत्र आगे बढ़ सकता है when the opposition and the ruling party, the ruling dispensation of the day, they work responsibly. Now the key question is that this second part of the budget session being a complete washout, who has to bear the onus? Who is going to be facing the guillotine on this? My simple logic is, you look at the pattern, be it Pegasus, be it when the Ram Mandir verdict was given, be it when demonetization happened, or be it currently the Adani issue. I want to ask the opposition one thing. You keep saying that the BJP, being the ruling party, has the responsibility, to run the parliament. Fine. If hypothetically what you say is right, fair and square, please tell me when the Supreme Court on the 3rd of March 2023 already decided that a 7-member committee has been formed which will adjudicate and look into whether there was indeed something which was not overboard in terms of the Adani matter, and the Supreme Court has said that let this committee give its verdict in terms of its investigation and findings.
Right.
Wait till then. Wait for the committee which has been formed under the aegis of Justice Abhay Sapre, who's not a wannabe. He has earlier been the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court and the Manipur High Court. In fact, the 7-member committee has bona fide congresses like Nandan Nilekani. It has bona fide congresses like O.P. Bhatt. It has bona fide anti-BJP people like Somasekhar Sundaresan. Why is it that you are so rattled? Adani to sirf bahana hai. निशाना ये है कि 2024 से पहले you want to run down the parliament because you have no political issue on which you can take on Narendra Modi.
You have made the charge, but then you are also admitting that the opposition has been successful in derailing parliament because there are 34 legislations pending. You should have pushed and put. So I'm just parking it there. George Kurian, please respond.
Well, Anand, let me make it very clear to your audience that the 11th session of the 17th Lok Sabha will be remembered for work not done. The parliament will lose its relevance and significance if disruptions like this continue to happen in the future as well. Having said that, the session began on the 13th and it ended today, sine die. The problem is that, the treasury benches, it is their responsibility to ensure a smooth functioning of the parliament, which they fail to work upon, and the opposition has the liberty and they have the privilege to question the government with respect to national security, be it inflation, be it other unemployment in the country, and things like that. So that is the reason why the opposition were demanding a JPC in the Adani issue, because there's a lot of national resources and national security which is at stake because Adani.
But my point is, have you missed the woods for the trees? Security. George Kurian, I just want to ask you this. If there is the court-monitored committee which has been set up, Supreme Court-monitored committee which has been set up to look into Adani, then you demanding a JPC in Adani, is it not missing the woods for the trees? You have not pushed the government on DPDP. Data privacy law, you have not pushed them on that. There are 34 legislations pending, you have not pushed them on that. You have allowed the government to get away without doing any work. If there was no Supreme Court monitored committee, your pushing for a JPC would have made sense. But if there is a Supreme Court monitored committee looking into the Adani issue, shouldn't you have cornered the government on DPDP? Isn't that important?
Exactly.
Isn't that a normal national security issue? You have allowed the government to get away without doing any work. The government can blame you. That's what's happening right now, no, George Kurian? You have not held the government accountable anywhere. You allowed them to shoot in school.
Well, Anand, ever since the Adani Hindenburg's report has come to the fore and on public domain, the Congress Party and the United Opposition have been demanding a JPC in the matter even before the Parliament budget session started. To be very
but that is exactly what I'm trying to say. Are you trying to say that a Supreme Court monitored committee is not good enough? Are you saying the Supreme Court monitored committee with panelists who are across the spectrum in terms of their leanings, and they are really wise people who understand this, who can get into the depth of this, who have formed companies worth thousands of crores? They don't have the wisdom. They don't have the wisdom.
I don't want to elaborate.
Well, that's exactly what you're trying to tell me, sir. I'm saying my expectation as a citizen of this country from the opposition is to hold the government accountable, get them to pass bills and corner them where they are trying to avoid. Haven't you allowed the government to run away without passing any bills?
May I please come in?
Yes, Sanju Verma.
Thank you. Anand, you raise a very pertinent point, and I am not somebody who minces my words. I will just say this. I am also a taxpayer and a very honest one at that. And, forget about my political ideology. As an honest taxpayer, if I have to just use my basic common sense, there was a JPC which was formed to probe the Bofors affair in 1987. There was a JPC to probe the Harshad Mehta affair in 1992. There was a JPC to probe the Ketan Parekh scam in 2001. There was a JPC formed in 2011 to probe the Spectrum scam.
Right.
And we all know, you can go and do basic Google search. None of these JPCs yielded any results. So as a taxpayer,
whether they yielded anything, whether they yielded anything or not, whether they yielded anything or not, I will hold the government responsible for wasting taxpayers' money and not pushing important legislation, and I will hold the opposition responsible in their failure to hold the government responsible on my behalf as a citizen of this country.
The opposition has failed to do its its role.
Correct.
Of being
So
a
has the government, ma'am.
opposition.
So has the government, ma'am. So has the government in this case.
You can't
Respectfully,
block the well of the House with Sabha.
respectfully, so has the government because
You
the
can't
government could
disrespect
not,
the Lok Sabha
because the
speaker
government
under
could
the
not
guise
let
of
parliament
dissent.
function, and somewhere the government was okay with parliament
can't
being disrupted
disrespect the
because the
Rajya Sabha
charge on
chair
the
under
government
the
is that
guise of free speech.
that the government was not ready with important legislations that it should have passed.
The government
That's the
is ready,
charge.
but the
I'm going
opposition
to
was on the
rest it
back
there. I'm going to leave it there until the next session of parliament
The
and see how many
opposition was
bills
on the
get
back
passed.
foot, not the government.
How many bills get passed? The government has to pass the bills. The government has the numbers in the house. The government has the responsibility to the citizens, and the opposition also has the responsibility to hold the government accountable. None of this has happened in this session. Let's hope it happens going forward. Thank you very much, Sanju Verma ji. Thank you very much, George Kodiyati. Thank you very much. Namaste. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, on the BJP's 44th Foundation Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while addressing BJP workers at a grand event, tore into the Congress and other opposition parties. Listen.
आज भाजपा देश में एक नए पॉलिटिकल कल्चर का भी नेतृत्व कर रही है। कांग्रेस और उनके जैसी पार्टियों का कल्चर, उन पार्टियों की पहचान क्या है? ये उन्हीं के कल्चर में से पैदा हुई है। उन पार्टियों की पहचान है, पार्टी का नाम लेते ही एक ही बात दिखती है, सारी पार्टियों का दर्द देख लीजिए, परिवारवाद, वंशवाद, जातिवाद और क्षेत्रवाद का बंधक है ये सारे लोग। जबकि भाजपा का पॉलिटिकल कल्चर प्रत्येक देशवासी को साथ लेकर चलने का है।
Parivarvad versus Vikasvad. That's been the story of Prime Minister's vision for Bharat and also his challenge to all politicians, those in public life. Can you also compete on the same turf that the BJP is setting the narrative on?